like I was saying with the dark matter being sound, I'm just kind of elaborate a little bit. All right. All stars are very loud, producing loud, silent frequency. Yes, it's loud, okay? But we can't hear it because the density of the ether and space is so faint that it can only linger, similar to how smoke does, okay? Like I was explaining, okay? This loud, silent frequency gathers around the galaxy, helping it hold together, giving it momentum, okay? It's lingering, it lingers in smoke, lingers like smoke distorting the waters, okay? You know how when you run sound waves through water, it makes all kinds of designs. I mean, literally like this. I mean, it makes like star designs, galaxy designs, all kinds of weird snowflake natural designs, fractal designs, basically, okay? The waters of space will distort due to this silent frequency lingering around, okay? That's exactly the same. It's the same principle, literally, the sound. This is what's dark matter. It makes, I mean, think about it. The denser sound, the denser the material it is, the sound will travel faster through it, okay? Diamond is the fastest that sound can travel, okay? It's the densest there is. Well, not densest, but carbon, okay? It's dense carbon. One of the densest, the hardest. It's the hardest, basically. So when it comes to traveling through it, it'll travel 39,000 feet per second. Like I was explaining here, it'll travel 39,000 feet per second through the diamond, okay? All right, so literally, it's like an outside force, the CMB and all of these sound waves, because no matter what is going on, when a star is living, it is bright and loud. Okay? No matter, even if it's a faintly bright star, it's still very, very loud. And it puts off its own frequency, its own signature. It's got its specific energy signature, just like people. People have a specific signature to them. Yes, we have a energy signature that can be classified as a human, but when it comes down to the micro scale, when you break it down, literally, when you actually examine the frequency, you'll find out that each and every frequency is a unique signature, okay? So every galaxy and every star has its unique frequency, a unique energy signature, okay, of sound. A sound signature, basically, is what it is, all right? So it will literally linger around because it cannot propagate through it, you know? It can creep through it. It can hang around through it, just like how smoke will hang around whenever you burn a piece of paper, and it will linger around, but it literally can't travel through it, you know? So it will hang around and, literally, it give you all the effects that we get from dark matter. It explains it. I mean, you cannot see sound. We can detect it, but we can't see it, you know? So we have to hear it, and we have to listen through the CMB, the cosmic microwave background. I mean, we have all the answers. I mean, literally, it's right in front of us, and we know it. We actually know this stuff, but we're not realizing it. It's just, basically, all this that I'm explaining is just unrealized. It's unrealized scientific facts that gives us a completely new view, a completely new perspective that can advance us and give us every answer that we've been looking for. All right? Now, like on my other videos when I was explaining the light, okay, the light from quasars, the light and sound, basically it feeds the microcosm, all right? Whenever there's infinite empty space, you're still going to have this energy here, okay? That energy is still going to be out there as light and sound. It's in space, and even if there's no matter, nothing left, this quasar light is actually, it's something, okay? E equals mc squared. We're not realizing that. This is something. This will give the universe back. This seeds the quasars help seed the universe. Okay? They help seed the universe with what makes the singularity. The nuclear and electric energy, the light, the ash. See what I'm saying? Quasars actually feed the microcosm. This is the birth of a microcosm, okay? Of a new microcosm. This is feeding. It's a cyclical. It's cyclical, you know? It's a cyclical process. So, I mean, the song of the sun or song of the stars, I mean, that's where this comes from. It's not just some philosophical saying, some stupid philosophical saying. A lot of people think any kind of philosophical answers or any philosophy at all is retarded. Oh, science is where it's at. Science is where it's at. Look, I'm not trying to be a dick, but science is the Y factor. That's the man side. That's the brain. You need that side. You need the philosophical side. That's the heart. That's the female side. Okay? That's the understanding the mechanics. Look, you can have numbers all day long. Okay? But when it comes to space, you're dealing with numbers that are so big, it's pointless to even type them down or even try to conceive them. Yes, we can use them to verify things that we need to know mathematically, but if we don't understand the engine of how it works, then the numbers aren't going to tell us shit. And that's what we got. Numbers are only to verify. Basically, the numbers verify the philosophy. All right? The philosophy is understanding it. Now you're going to use the science to break it down and see how it works. And you're going to use the numbers. You have to have both of them. You have to have the alpha and the omega, the man side and the female side, to make anything work. And you have to understand that both of them coincide. They're like space-time, space and matter, light and sound. They're symbiotic, you know. So you have to have the philosophy and the science. You know, like we can't see sound. We can only detect it. Okay, that's why we can't pick up the dark matter. That's why we can't see it. You know. It's got this, it's an electrostatic sound. Jada, would you stop? Okay, and this is good, and we know this. It's called the cosmic microwave background. We know all this stuff, we're just not understanding how it works. And we can prove this stuff by using small experiments at home. Literally, like I was saying with passing sound frequencies. We understand all this. We see these experiments. We see light bubbles in water, or sound bubbles in water turn to light when they reach the surface. We see all this stuff. We can verify all this stuff. People say, where's your proof, John? This is the proof. That's what I'm saying. Would you quit? No, I don't care. All right? Go back in there. Anyway. Kids. All right. She's seen me doing something. She just wants me to go outside and play and all this stuff. I told her she'd go play in the pool. I mean, goodness gracious. She wanted to go play in the pool, and now she don't want to go play in the pool. But the waters of space, it's called the waters for a reason, okay? That's not just some biblical philosophical, you know, da-da-da-da-da, you know, I mean, it's not... It's named the waters for a reason. There's a specific reason behind that, and it's because we know that the interstellar medium has a fabric to it. It's similar to water. It's malleable, okay? We know this. So I'm using all of the facts that we know and putting it together, okay? And this is what we come up with, all right? And people want usually... Look, people want numbers all the time. Look, numbers can't explain everything, like I said, all right? They can only verify, all right? You have to understand the engine first. And as Einstein said, if you can't explain it simply, then you don't understand it well enough. And I understand this stuff very well. And that's how I'm able to break it down for people, and people that don't understand. I mean, literally, I have a couple friends that, you know, they know about a little of this stuff, but it kind of confuses them. And when I explain all this like this, they understand it completely, because it's easier to understand than a scientist or a physicist explaining some kind of equation to you, or explaining all of this stuff in a bunch of scientific terms that you can't understand. You know, you just break it down simple. And Occam's razor is very, very real. I mean, it's the best way to do this. See, in the 369, it's a trinity of trinities. And it's like a process, okay? Because literally everything, like space, time, and matter, you know? And you have up quarks and down quarks to make protons. 3 of them. You know, up quarks and down, 2 up quarks and a down quark for a proton, and 2 down quarks and an up quark for a neutron, you know? So it takes 3 of those, and then you have a proton, neutron, and electron. There's another trinity, you know? So, literally, trinities and trinity of trinities, 369 is the trinity of trinities. It's understanding fusion. It's basically cold fusion. And the power metaphysics and stuff like that, that we actually can... We know that the pyramids send and receive radio frequencies. You know, we know this. You know, and when you add it up, literally, you can use that radio frequency. These pyramids were radios and transmitters, and what they did was transmitted and received this energy through thermodynamics. All right, they have the alpha and omega. You know, you have the king's chamber, the alpha, and the queen's chamber, the omega. You know, obviously it's right here. You know, and you use radioisotope thermoelectric generator with an open arc, with a hot arc, and you're going to end up turning that hot arc, that heat, that fusion of those electrons and alpha particles with that hydrogen. It's emulating the sun, and you're going to end up transferring all that through the cold chamber, the queen's chamber, and that's going to be your electricity. Boom! It's transmitting it through the wireless electrical field. So you're using the ionosphere, the magnetosphere, to transfer this energy. And I believe this is actually what caused the cataclysm and why religions end up trying to suppress all of this knowledge. The Vatican, da-da-da-da-da. That's why the pyramids end coinciding with the Bible. And the destruction of man, the flood. I think the pyramids is what caused it. This technology, this alpha and omega, is what caused it. The cataclysm, 13,000 years ago, or over 10,000 years ago. Or even caused problems several times in religion. Catholicism basically started fresh, suppressing everything, you know, thought they could take over the world, but then the government, you know, bureaucracy became the new religion, and money became the new God, and, you know, it just changed from there. Let's see, hold on. This is a version of Genesis. I got a video on, but anyway, let's see, hold on, look for something. Alright, like I was saying with diamond, Metatron's cube, gold, not anyway. Metatron's cube is the diamond singularity. I mean, it's like the area of space, the Higgs boson, basically. That's what it is. The Higgs field. This is, you know, obviously the time. You know, time is dark energy. And I don't even know why that's just a theory. I mean, it's actually a fact. Time is dark energy. Because until you add matter, you only have timeless space. Once you add matter, boom, you have space and matter relative to each other. Now you have time. Time only applies when matter is around. Time does not apply any other way. Okay, when I was saying they transmitted and received the energy, literally you could have a suit that had a wireless power source. I mean, a nuclear power source that was electricity. It wasn't radioactive at all. It didn't hurt you. See, the pyramids used the nuclear push, the alpha, to transfer that omega, all right, that wireless electrical energy, all right. So whenever you have those thermodynamics, you have that hot and that cold, you can actually push it and have literally as much power as you need, and you can have a wireless, you know, wireless exotic power source, like on Spider-Man Homecoming, for instance, when those guys were making, you know, the Vulture, you know, he's like a Ravager, you know, he used a wireless power source and made stuff at his garage. You know, so once we understand this, we could actually, people with private garages and private companies would literally be able to make suits. I mean, like Magneto, literally. You would be able to emit an electromagnetic field and push somebody over, carry someone, metaphysics, whatever. Shoot plasma from your hands. It's not impossible. You'd be able to lift up a car. I mean, even with just your strength, you could have a hydraulic exosuit. I mean, people would literally be gods. They would be... What I mean, if they were back in the, I think this is where the living gods came from, in my opinion. When they had this alpha and omega, and the pyramids were actually operative. You know, there was separate people. There was people that had the knowledge, which was power, and there were people that didn't, and they used this. It's like how we have electricity. Everybody's got electricity. Imagine only the rich people had electricity, or the powerful people, and they used it for power. They didn't use it for money purposes. They used it for power, to be dominant, literally. You know. I mean, they're not aliens, they're from Earth, you know. Maybe, I mean, technically, maybe we did come from another planet. I ain't going to put that aside. I believe the Anunnaki and all that stuff, man. It's not far-fetched or impossible at all. And there's actually indications, and I've actually found some stuff that indicates that stuff a great deal, and even found timelines and stuff in the timelines that people didn't even realize. But you would literally have a staff that could literally shoot plasma from it. I mean, imagine having a suit, something similar to this, you know, and being able to use toroids around your hands or something to shoot an electromagnetic field. I mean, literally, you'd be able to do it easily. Zeus's lightning bolt. All right, Zeus's lightning bolt, for instance. All right, if you have a capacitor bank, okay, and you have those charged with a lot of voltage, and you have an open arc with a spark here, a radioisotope thermoelectric generator right here, or a thermoelectric generator with an open arc, okay? And you have a coil wrapped around this right here to the capacitor bank, all right? Of course, this is another arc capacitor, radioisotope thermoelectric generator, or thermoelectric generator. It doesn't have to be a radioisotope. Basically, you're charging this capacitor bank with this one, all right? And you're using it's a superconductor, okay? So you're using solid-state physics, and it's because of the 369 when it comes to fluorite and lithium and carbon. They're very special when it comes with their electrical properties. Anyway, all that's the electrical. I'll get to that in another time. But anyway, you can charge these capacitors, discharge them down this coil, all right? That'll create an electromagnetic field. You'll carry this arc, this plasma right here. That arc, that toroid spin, that electromagnetic field, when it's discharged, will literally carry this plasma, okay, in a toroid fashion. And you could literally strike someone dead. Now, people say, oh, we got lightning guns now, tasers and all this stuff. No. This thing is no taser. This will kill someone instantly. It will burn them up. This is literally being struck by lightning, all right? It's not these low voltage frequencies that we get from like Tesla coils and stuff like that people mess with and play with, have their hair stand up, No. This is literally, it's got a nuclear push. If you're using radioisotope thermoelectric generators, or if you're using solid-state physics, you got a lot of power here, okay? Especially if you got the nuclear. I mean, you literally, if you have that nuclear, you're charging these with the electrical, you got that nuclear push, you're literally hitting somebody with so many amps that you're frying them. I mean, you're literally cooking them from the inside out. Or the outside in. I mean, you're turning them to ash. You're going to burn them up. See, it would carry it in a... You know how in movies people see them with a toroid? They'll shoot something in a toroid fashion? That's not impossible. Actually, that's very logical. In fact, I think Hollywood, like I said, knows something, and they're... You know, because literally, if you did that, you would get a toroid spin, because that electromagnetic field is spinning in a toroid manner, you know? So whenever it discharges and it carries these particles, this frequency here, it's going to literally... I mean, you got the nuclear, see? This is the mother, this is the electromagnetic, this is the omega, then you have your nuclear, all right? That's the alpha and omega. So you're going to literally carry that. Once you bind these, boom, you get that plasma. You're literally shooting a plasma gun. This is an energy weapon, and it's very deadly, you know? And it's very easy. I mean, we got similar stuff right now. And people make this stuff at home all the time on the internet, but not like this. People make stuff that we already know. They don't actually design their own stuff. You know, some people, oh yeah, well, we got a bolt gun here. Hey, I've seen some pretty cool bolt guns. I've seen some pretty cool, you know, lightning guns, you know, but they're not real lightning. They're superficial. You can shoot somebody with it in it, you know. I'm sure somebody might have designed one off of a design that we already have, but this is literally ancient technology. I mean, you're literally using a nuclear push. Oh yeah, like the Ark of the Covenant. You know how there's always an arc capacitor, or let's see, what's that one? The arc light. And there's always something like that. The flux capacitor, you know, there's always a capacitor or something in a lot of these sci-fi movies. And they're all based off the Ark of the Covenant. So I figured, you know, I'd try to do a literally like a real flux capacitor, you know. And it actually uses this alpha and omega nuclear energy and stuff. Really, it's very possible to make 1.21 gigawatts of power. Yeah, that's exactly what it does. Like this lightning gun, 1.21 gigawatts. Or the energy that it would emit. I mean, it'd be almost like a microwave gun, you know? We have those too. They use them for crowds. But like I was saying with the thermodynamics, literally, the pyramids are thermodynamics. They're literally thermoelectric generators. And we know that even. We even have that proof. Where's your proof, John? It's because of what they're made of. The material they're made of is thermoelectric. It's quartz. I mean, it's got piezoelectric properties. It's got the triboluminescence. Quartz is very special, you know. You have, and it's very, all of this granite can handle a lot of heat too. So literally it will transfer. I mean, it literally pulls the energy and all the heat from the king's chamber into the queen's chamber. And also, what's another indication? Where's your proof? Well, the king's chamber is significantly hotter than the queen's chamber. Okay, even the temperature variances are different. So even that can be corroborated. So, I mean, literally, you would have a giant thermoelectric generator with a smaller radioisotope thermoelectric generator inside. So what you're doing is literally filtering out all the nuclear energy. You're using it to push. You're getting a nuclear push, nuclear energy from this, but you're literally using it to push the mother force, or the electrical, or the omega, all right, wirelessly, because this is a radio and it's a transmitter. You know, it's a radio transmitter and a receiver. because it's got all the same parts as a Tesla coil and a crystal radio. Like, for instance, here, you know, we have a crystal radio, and we have a Tesla coil, and then we have the pyramids, you know. They all have the same parts. And then when you have your capacitor in the middle here, that's where the arc capacitor was at, or the radioisotope thermoelectric generator with an open arc, you know. And the cherubs at the top were a cathode and anode. So they're literally taking this hydrogen. If you put hydrogen in here, and you literally put alpha particles, you're taking that hydrogen, ionized hydrogen, or just hydrogen and alpha particles, just like the sun does, and you're using the electrons or this arc to fuse them together, all right? Yes, it's cold fusion. It's very hot, but it can be done at room temperature. And once this hot chamber is very hot with all this energy in here, this is going to transfer into the case here so it can be pulled into the Queen's chamber, okay? And all that nuclear energy is filtered out. All that dangerous nuclear energy, radiation, is filtered out, and only the electricity is transmitted. Okay, wherever the capstone's at, it was either gold or golden quartz. I'm still working on that. It was a special design to be able to help transfer this. But you can even do this research. Nonetheless, this right here is in a lot of hieroglyphs. I've seen it. A lot. Ironically, the Ark of the Covenant, it looks similar to what the Ark of the Covenant would look like. Okay, and how it's described. Okay, and a radioisotope thermoelectric generator, or thermoelectric generator technically, looks like this. Alright? And Aaron's rods were put in they were stored in the Ark of the Covenant. Alright? Now, ironically, they look like nuclear rods. Aaron's rods, they look like control rods to me. And that was the first thing I noticed. I was like, man, those look like control rods. And then I started reading, and it's talked about Aaron's rods. It's like, holy shit, you know, I mean, that's unbelievable. How ironic. Then it talked about, of course, you have the Ark of the Covenant. It had said to have manna in it, and it would glow. And okay, now if this is a radioisotope thermoelectric generator, what would they use that would be glowing green like manna? Well, radium. Okay, and radium 222 has some special properties also. And if you need alpha particles, this is a good place to get them. But it's bright. That means it's an arc. I mean, we got to use arc welder caps. You know, we got to have a mask on our face when we're arc welding, or we'll go blind. You'll get flash burn. Okay, so you can't look at it, because it's very bright. All right, it made their hair fall out, hair turn white, fingernails, all this. So it had some kind of radiation to it. All right, and then if you touched it, it killed you. It was electrical. So all of these signify that this had to be a radioisotope thermoelectric generator. And not to mention the fact that you see this a lot. And then you see cherub, or you see the Sphinx on a lot of them. And that's what leads me to believe there's a large one under the Sphinx. Okay? That fed the Sphinx temple. And ironically, I think that's the control room to start it. And ironically also, that one's the only one that's tore down. The rest of the pyramid complex is there. But the Sphinx's temple, it's gone. It's tore up, destroyed. I think that was the room that operated it. You know, it was destroyed for a specific reason. Then Imhotep, I think, tried to build another one. He started a new one, but of course they lost the technology and the truth. Or they might have had it. I don't know. Still working on that one too a little bit. I'm not sure if they probably still had myths and legends and probably knew a little bit because they still, well, they were several thousand years from the extinction, but it was closer than we are now. It's filtered out so much that we've lost our perspective. It's completely messed up now. Now, this is just a theory about these phases, you know, but, all right. Phase 1, power is transmitted to the king's chamber with hydrogen, okay? Antechamber, phase 2, antechamber ionizes the hydrogen. And then the phase 3 would be it combining them. But I still haven't worked on that. There's still a lot to work out, but I'm just going to give it to everyone. This is what I call I believe I already made a video of it, but I call it a photomagnetic telescope. It's a quantum telescope is what it is. And it uses nuclear energy and emits H-alpha light waves. Okay, it's the light spectrum. And we would actually use it as a flashlight and a telescope. And we would use the light from it to shoot into space. We would emit the light and at the same time magnify it. So whenever we're emitting this light, we can magnify it at the same time. So as far as it's traveling out, we would get a better picture. And we wouldn't have to wait for light to hit it. We'd actually create a light tunnel. And this is actually a real thing. We used to play all the time out in the dark with flashlights. And if you're aiming two flashlights toward each other and you don't hit each other, the beams, you can't see each other. Okay? You can't really see each other. But when you touch the tunnels, the light beams, you'll literally connect this beam and you'll actually see each other easier. See what I'm saying? I mean, this is just like a little small home experiment, just a little analogy, you know. And what this would do is literally bring the stuff to us instead of us having, or technically would bring us to instead of have to wait to get to us. So we could actually bring it, you know, bring it. But anyway, it's a quantum telescope, and what it does is it uses one of these radioisotope thermoelectric generators. Okay, it uses one of these to work, to operate, because this is going to be a bright arc, but it's a nuclear arc. Okay, so it's not as prone to how we use lasers, but lasers will literally fade out and distort and literally just dissipate over time. You know, it doesn't have enough power to it to be able to maintain a good focused beam of light. But if we used a nuclear arc, a light fusion here, then we would be able to take that light, and literally it's not synthetic light, it's real light, like a star. It's real light. It's not just light made from electricity. See what I'm saying? This is actually true light. So this true light would literally be able to traverse a lot better than being able to than any kind of light that we would be able to shine on Earth into space. Now androids, they're not as hard as people believe. Actually, you know what? I could design, if I had a team, I'd literally be able to create the first human android, a real human android. This stuff that they got now, even the smart ones are still so stupid. I mean, and they move so slow. They have trouble when it comes to their doing a lot of stuff. Okay, but anyway, if they would design the brain better, you know, it would be 10 times easier. But they're not thinking properly, basically. You could literally, even with Android phones, if I had Arduinos or whatever, if I actually had literally the schooling and the information how to actually use these things. I've never actually put one together. I've read about it and stuff, but I've never actually done it. If I had someone that knew how to do that, I would be able to create an android brain. And it's not hard. Actually, you'd have to simulate like the hippocampus. The hippocampus is the memory. This is where all your stuff goes. Everything you know goes to your hippocampus. It's your long-term memory. Okay? Your whole life. Okay? Then you have your gray matter, which are your lobes. All right? You have your parietal lobe, your frontal lobe, your temporal lobe, and your occipital lobe. Okay? Obviously, the occipital lobe is going to be what operates this. Now, if they're multi-core and they have their each one is a multi-core, its own system. Okay? They're multiple core. They got memory, plenty of memory. All right, and they got storage. Okay? But then there's a master storage that they all communicate with. And this one all communicates with these. And these are called, I call them balance bridges. Okay? That's what allows the data to be able to transfer and adequately to each one of these if they need to. But they can also be operated with this one. This is like the operating system, the main operating system. This is literally the OS, the hard drive. All right? And this hippocampus is literally running these computers. Now, each one of these computers does its own set of things, like our brain. It literally emulates the human brain. Okay? You have several computers all designed and software specially designed to be able to simulate or emulate a human brain. Exactly. Okay? And, of course, I've got actually a lot of where I've designed this whole Android. It's a circulation system, it's a nervous system, everything. And it could actually be done. I mean, the heart is almost like a water pump, how a water pump impeller works. Okay? Literally, the heart, it just circulates a gel like blood. Okay? And it keeps it from overheating. Literally, this thing would actually have body temperature, just like a person. And you'd be able to kill it just like a person. If you shot it in the chest, in the heart, or if you shot it in the head, boom, it would die. It would not be able to function. Okay? So it would literally be, this thing would be almost literally human. You would not be able to tell the difference, except for maybe subtle things. But other than that, once we got it down pat, we would be able to actually emulate a human perfectly. And it's not as hard as people would think. I mean, it's not as hard as people would think. All right, this is how I imagine a UFO would work. Okay? Now, you have the concept of angular momentum. Okay? Whenever this is spinning, it's going to be light. No matter how heavy this is, it's going to be a lot lighter once it's spinning. All right? So if you're using, say you have aluminum here. All right? Then you have an electromagnetic field. You have mercury tubes here. This mercury is going to start going around in these tubes, and with this electromagnetic field you're producing, it's going to start spinning this body like a torque converter would spin in a transmission. All right, it spins the exact same way. You're using the momentum of this mercury instead of using the engine of a car, a crankshaft. You're actually using an electromagnetic field from a generator here. Okay, so this is like a giant torque converter. Okay, and it starts spinning real fast. The cab has a special bearings, or it's separate, so it doesn't spin along with it. Okay, but this would literally spin very fast, and it would become very light, just like a frisbee. The angular momentum, the lower and higher air pressures above and below it, because this is basically how a frisbee would work. All right, and frisbees almost have like an anti-gravity kind of nature about them, and it's because of the concept of angular momentum. There's several reasons why angular momentum would be a very good reason to fly, because you could use a light material like aluminum. All right, it's very light. Of course, mercury is dense, and if you have a lot of it, it's impractical, of course, but you only need a little bitty bit of it because it's so dense. Exactly. Okay, so you're using this light material that is not being interfered with this electromagnetic field. Only the mercury is. Okay, aluminum has a slight reaction when it comes to electromagnetism, very, very slightly, but it's so faint that you would literally be able to run this electromagnetic field around the body of this. Okay, and this mercury is the only thing reacting, and the body of the aluminum won't, because literally aluminum very, 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 very faintly reacts with electromagnetics. All right, so now you literally have the body of this spinning around thousands of RPMs, and the craft itself literally would probably weigh as much as a small car, if not less than that, 800 to 1,000 pounds, you know. And of course the body of it probably weigh, you know, 800 to 1,000 pounds. But whenever this starts spinning, this thing loses a great deal of that weight, you know. And from what I calculated on one of these, basically I used some pretty simple math. I mean, it's just basically dividing and multiplying. But I would end up getting, from the angular momentum, electromagnetics, the mercury, yada yada yada, a 30-meter craft would weigh 46.5 pounds when it was done. And relative to, similar to how a frisbee operates and its weight, and whenever, basically the sound, or not the sound, shit, I'm trying to think about something else, I'm starting to get ahead of myself. Basically the size and the density of it versus its weight, whenever you lose the weight of it standing still, whenever it's in motion, you lose a significant amount of it. Like I was saying, you'd have a few thousand pounds, and you'd go to, or maybe even not even 1,000 pounds, go to a tenth of that, or less than a tenth of that. Okay, and like this is what I call it, a cold fusion generator. All right, now these physicists are, you know, I can tell them exactly what they're doing wrong, and they have, like, these magnetic islands build up. You know, it's because they're trying to harness a star. You can harness a star, but you can't contain it. They're trying to contain a star. Okay, they're having transitional problems. What they need to do is transition that energy. Okay, that's why the pyramids are thermoelectric. You know, once it starts fusing, it's literally creating energy, and if you do not transition that energy off, like how a star sweeps off energy into space, then it's going to build up and create magnetic islands. It's going to burn it down, and that's why they can only achieve fusion for such short times. They keep having so many problems. And then they just added lithium. They're thinking that this might do the trick. Look, I could have told them this 3 years ago. All right? Lithium, carbon, fluorine, 369. All right? This gives you a thermodynamic equilibrium. And gold has emissions, or it's catalytic. And plus, alpha particles will pass right through it. All right? So whenever you have a cold fusion generator and you're creating a star, literally you're going to have it inside another thermoelectric generator. All right? You're going to have to transition that power with semiconductors. You're going to have to use superconductors, basically, to be able to transfer that energy into electricity. And that's why they're having problems, because they're not transitioning it. In space, when a star does everything it does, all of the energy is constantly being swept into space. Constantly. So if you do not sweep that energy off and you let it build up, then you're basically going to burn it out. Okay? They're lucky they haven't blown anybody up yet. Alright, look, check this out. The flatness of space that we see is the plane of existence. Alright? It's a flat plane of existence. Alright? The curvature that we see is the depth. Okay? Space has basically an infinite amount of spatial dimensions in it. But no matter what way we look, we can only see one way, flat. Alright? Two-dimensionally. We can only see one way flat at any given time. No matter what way we look, we can only look one way flat. And we're only going to literally see the first dimension. That's all we're going to see. And that's why the flat earthers, and that's where the flat earth theory comes from, is ancient physics, when they had their telescopes and stuff, they looked through, they seen the same stuff we see. You know, they seen a two-dimensional, they saw a two-dimensional figure, you know. So this, over time, ends up becoming the flat earth theory. You know, flat earth throughout the ages, blah, 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 blah. 0 point. 0 point is you, okay? You are 0 point. You are point zero. And that goes for even the quantum energy of space when it comes to the 0 point, point zero. That's ground zero. That's you, the alpha, the core. That's the core of everything. That's where it all begins, you know, point zero. And like I was saying about the cells, you know, whenever it's an egg and it's a zygote, basically on the 6th day it blasts. It blasts. It literally moves to the uterus and it starts becoming a baby, you know. But literally, it says that God created the universe in 6 days, yada yada yada, and you're using an alpha and omega. All right, you're using a male and an energy, a male energy and a female energy. Okay, so literally, you're going to have it programs how life is going to form. Basically, it's like it programs how life forms, because even if something's got both sexes, you know, it's hermaphroditic, then literally it still needed both. I'm just going to throw this out here. You know how the universe looks like a brain, all right? That's basically plasma, all right? It's like the will and inevitability. I mean, space, timeless space only has will. You know what I'm saying? There's literally will. And if you can conceive something, then it can exist. If you can't conceive it, then it can't exist, all right? We exist. Therefore, we had to be conceived. All right? We had to be conceived. All right? And this will and potential and inevitability conceives us with this alpha and omega, like panspermia. Panspermia, okay? Literally, you're going to have conception because you have this alpha and omega, this male and female force, these two energies that have always existed, okay? We were literally conceived. And through conception, literally, it's how the universe births life. I mean, you have the X factor, which is your leptons, your electrons, and you have your Y factor, which is your quarks, point particles, your nuclear energy, your strong force. Okay, you have a strong force and weak force. This is literally the plasma of the universe. Okay, I mean, this has literally existed forever. This is energy, plasma. I mean, it comes together and forms the Higgs boson. All right, it's like a quantum evolved star. Until then, you don't have electromagnetism and gravity. I mean, you only have electrostatic. And as this starts to form, gravity will build up and eventually be reached. Our fundamental gravity will be reached. I mean, look, the chronology of the Big Bang, like I was saying, all right, look. They say they don't even know if there's a fourth generation of matter. Yes, there's a fourth generation of matter. That's obvious. It's everything. All right, look. You have your first generation of matter. The first generation of matter would be basically the energy here. You have your protons and neutrons and electrons, all right? Your second generation of matter, I mean, that's what it becomes. You have up quarks and down quarks. You know, your up quarks and down quarks are basically your first generation. That become your protons and neutrons, which is the second generation. Once you have the first and second generation, you can have the normal matter that we know. So now you have the protons, neutrons, electrons, that become the third generation of matter. All right? So, let me read this and it'll make a little more sense. All right. Let's see. Preons and zeons. Now, preons are what we believe quarks are made of. All right? But if you have one preon and that's it, then you're not going to be able to make any other elements. You're not going to be able to make anything else. So you have to have another one. You have to have basically it's mother force, okay? So a hypothetical particle, zeons, all right? But either way we know, either way it goes, that doesn't even have to be, I don't even have to hypothetically put that in there, you know? it's still, the facts remain that we're going to end up with up quarks and down quarks. So that's pretty much, it's not even important, you know. But I've just, like I was saying, I hypothetically put Zeons as another element of what up quarks and down quarks are made of, because quarks are made of something too. And obviously there's got to be two of them, or two of that to be able to combo it a certain style to be able to get more than one. Alright, so you have preons and zeons. You have up quarks and down quarks. Alright, so an up quark would be 2 preons, 1 zeon. And a down quark would be 1 preon and 2 zeons. Okay? That's how up quark is, or a proton is 2 up quarks and 1 down quark. And a neutron is 2 down quarks and 1 up quark. See what I'm saying? So you have to have a combination of 2 to be able to mix and match it to be able to get more than 1. So that's why I hypothetically put in preons, or zeons with the preons. Anyway, alright, so you have the first generation and the second generation of matter. Boom. The third generation can happen. Alright? The hadron, all that hadron energy makes this proto-nucleonic quantum evolved star. You know? I mean, it's just, it sounds weird. You know? It's just what it is, literally. That's what it is. It's proto, it's nucleonic, it's a quantum evolved star. Alright? So now, you have the first, second, and third generations of matter, all the Higgs boson. Okay? This is the God particle. Okay? Or the point particle. Or the quantum embryo of the universe, basically. You know, I mean, regardless, you know what I'm saying. So, the 3 isotopes of hydrogen are very simple. Okay, so once this cooks up and spreads all over the universe, which explains the horizons problem, you're going to end up getting the first simplest elements. And you're going to get a lot of hydrogen, helium, and lithium, which would be the 4th generation of matter. The 4th generation, which is everything else. Okay, so yes, the 4th generation of matter exists. Why do they say it doesn't? Why do they say proto-carbon can't exist when I know it can? They say, oh, it can't exist because it would take an extremely long time. Obviously, it would take a very long time. And you have a very long time here. You have infinite empty space. So that means that proto-carbon does exist. Okay? Protoplasma. That means that quarks and leptons predate the singularity. All of the answers are right in front of us, but we're not putting it together. That literally means that quarks and leptons predate the singularity. Okay? So it makes more sense that quarks and leptons made the singularity, then exploded, then hydrogen, helium, and lithium was created, which is what we see, then nothing, and then everything exists. And then quarks and leptons start making, you know, and then, you know, which are alpha and omega. And then you have, you know, but that right there is a violation. They can't be created right there. They have to exist before that. And they're just transitioning into a different energy state. See what I'm saying? It makes no sense what they're saying. Their chronology is messed up. And that's what, if they would fix that, I think they're doing it on purpose. Because they have to know this stuff. I think they're doing it on purpose. And if they're doing it on purpose, that leaves a question where everybody's fighting and arguing on what's right. Instead of just telling us, letting us know, and solving it, squashing it. Look, this is what it is. This is how it is. This is the truth. This is what, you know, we found out. You know, we didn't know at first. Now we know this is it. Or, you know, at least cover their asses somehow. But come out and just tell us, you know. Tell us the truth. Tell us what's going on. Quit leaving all these unanswered questions that makes all these paradoxes when all the paradoxes can be completely solved. I mean, like I said, you don't have to listen to